Everyone. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
And it is Tuesday, September the 24th. It's shortly after the 6 p.m. hour, and we are calling our meeting to order. And right before we get into the heart of our meeting, I want to yield to Executive Director Rutledge because we've got a couple of updates, and I don't think the general public is aware of a couple of the updates pertaining some of the issues that are on our agenda for this evening. So I'm going to yield to the Executive Director, and I think this will bring a little bit of clarity, and then we'll make way for the transition.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So tonight we have two items that are going to be pulled from the agenda, and they won't be heard until October 24th, the next zoning public hearing. And let me say those items. The first one is listed as B, and that is 1680, 1700, 1720 Walker Road. That's rezoning case 2024-21. That will be heard October 24th. And we have another item which is listed as E, 320, 460, and 470 Honey Creek Road. That's rezoning case 2024-17. Both of those will be heard October 24th. So if we could, during your motion of the approval of the agenda, if you could approve the agenda subject to the amendments to defer item B and E to the October 24th public hearing.
And right before we do that, too, Executive Director, I want you to just take a moment, just kind of educate everybody how the deferrals come about, because I want folks to know that, on top of the fact that although we have this hearing tonight, whether we kept them on the agenda or not, and there's a part of that in our program that talks about this, but I'm going to go ahead and put it out. We don't make a decision tonight. A decision by the Board of Commissioners would not have been made tonight anyway. This is an opportunity for what you see, a public hearing, for us to hear the facts from both sides. So I want to make sure I pointed that out. But I do want you to take a moment and explain to everyone how the deferral happened and how we even got to the point of now that we're deferring. We're not getting rid of it all the way. We're going to pick it up at another date.
No, so as both of these applications were moving through the process, both of these applicants have requested more time to work on their plans and to talk to the neighbors and submit something else that will be forthcoming in the next month. So since there's been changes, they'll have to redo their presentation and have another public hearing. That's how it relates to these two.
So I really do appreciate the Executive Director explaining that, because a lot of times this stuff can be so confusing and folks don't know. So let me just repeat it in a different way. On October the 24th, we'll be back going through the hearing process for those two items. They're being removed tonight only to allow the applicants a little bit more time to be able to work with their situation, do some communication, whatever it is they have to do. As I said earlier, whether they were taken off the agenda for this evening or not, the Board of Commissioners and myself would not be making a decision tonight. Now, as it pertains to the items that are on the agenda tonight, what date will we as a board be rendering that decision?
So that will be the second Tuesday in October, which I believe is the 10th.
Okay.
We will have the second reading on these items.
So those items that we do hear tonight, we will process the information, and on the 10th of October, the three of us will render a decision as to the outcome of those things. Some of this government stuff can be so confusing for folks who don't have a clue as to what's going on. I want to break it down so people can understand what's happening. So real quick, to make way for the transition, this is so important. We got a packed house here tonight, and then we did not allot for overflow next door. Item number one that was removed, give me that one more time. I want to make sure those people can hear it. Once you hear it, you are free to leave if you came for that particular one, and you can free up some of the seating for folks who are here to take up other business. And it may give you a night, if you're like me, you go have date night with your wife. But if you need to leave, you can leave. Go ahead with the first one.
So as it pertains to the agenda, it was item B, which is 1680, 1700, and 1720 Walker Road, rezoning case 2024-21.
And so if you're here for the Walker Road project, if you're here exclusively for that one, you're free to leave, because we're not going to take that up until the 24th of October. Okay, the second one.
That's
And the-
POTS.
Yes,
What's
that's correct.
commonly known as the POTS.
Thank you, Commissioner. Okay.
Thank you. And do you want,
Second one.
the second one is listed as item E on the agenda, which is 320, 460, and 470 Honey Creek Road. That's rezoning case 2024-17.
And that one, give me the nuts and bolts of that one.
The Cowan property.
The Cowan property, yes, that's it. So if you're here for that particular item, that one will also be taken up on October the 24th. We thank you for coming out. We thank you for your interest and all of what's happening in Rockdale County, for your time tonight. If you're here for either one of those issues, you are free to go, and we will revisit that on October the 24th. That will make way for your time and allow some seating for other folks who are here for other matters tonight.
Right.
So we have room for one more over here. Anybody want to take this seat up here? Okay. All right. I think that
Okay.
That clears it
So,
up.
we're down to approval of the agenda. So if you could approve the agenda with the deferral of item B and E to the October 24th public hearing.
Commissioners, what is your pleasure? We're at item number 2, the approval of the agenda.
I move that we approve the agenda with the deferral of item B and E to the October 24th public hearing.
I second that motion.
It's been properly motioned and second. Are there any additional comments or questions? All in favor, say aye.
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 Motion passed. Okay. All right, now the approval of the minutes from August 22nd, 2024. Commissioners, what's your pleasure?
I move that we approve the minutes from August 22nd, 2024.
I second that motion.
It's been properly motioned and second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion passed. We'll now hear from Public Relations with the rules of procedures for public hearings.
Each speaker must sign their name to the appropriate zoning case sheet and fill out a public comment card to register their intent to speak prior to the start of this meeting. Each item of business shall be handled in the order that it appears on the agenda, unless upon motion of the board, the order is changed. A member of the county planning staff will present each item to the board and will provide recommendations made by both the planning staff and the Conyers-Rockdale Planning Commission for each item of business. The zoning applicant or the agent will have 10 minutes in which to make his or her presentation. Any portion of their 10 minutes may be reserved for rebuttal following the opposition to the application. After the applicant's presentation, all registered speakers who wish to speak in favor of the application will then be heard. They will also be limited to a total of 10 minutes. Once the applicant has made his or her presentation and the speakers in favor of the application have been heard, the secretary will then call upon the registered speakers in opposition to the application. The opposition shall likewise be limited to a total of 10 minutes. Once the public hearing portion is closed, no other speakers will be heard. As a reminder, speakers are to address the board and not the applicant or the audience and are expected to conduct themselves in an appropriate manner. The use of abusive or profane language shall not be allowed. No debate or argument between speakers shall be permitted. After all public comments have been heard, the board may elect to hold general discussion. However, no decisions will be rendered at this hearing. Decisions will be made at the next regularly scheduled Board of Commissioners meeting. Appeals shall be filed with the clerk of Rockdale County Superior Court within 30 days after the final decision by the Board of Commissioners.
Okay, that wraps up the announcement from PR. I'm going to take it just a little bit farther because we have a big crowd and we're going to get into our meeting. I just want to make sure that we afford everybody that's here an opportunity to, number one, to be heard. This is a hearing. This is a public hearing. We want to make sure everybody can be heard. Also want to make sure that we have a respectful meeting as well. So all speakers, that includes staff, that when you make your way to the podium, please adjust the podium, speak into the microphone so that everyone that's here can hear you and hear what's being said. Those of you all that feel that you need to leave at whatever time you need to leave, that's fine, but I want to make sure that we afford everyone a respectful opportunity to be heard, whether you support something or whether you're in opposition of something. This is simply a hearing. So we want to make sure that all voices are heard tonight. So just wanted to make sure I pointed that out. And again, we will not be making any decisions based upon the information that's provided this evening. We'll do that at a later date. All right, that being said, no old or unfinished business, and we'll jump right into new business with item number A.
Good evening, Chairman, Madam Commissioners.
Good evening.
The first item on the agenda is 19 Southwest Highway 212, 1900 Highway 212 Southwest, Oglesby Bridge Road, and a portion of 1929 Oglesby Bridge Road. The applicant is Mr. Steve Goodsell. The applicant is coming to you this evening to request a deferral back to the Planning Commission. The staff recommend denial of this application, and the Planning Commission recommend no recommendation. It is the applicant's desire to go back to the Planning Commission with a revised plan, as well as seek the comments from the public, and as well as seek an approval from county staff. So therefore, the applicant is here to make a formal request to be deferred back to the Planning Commission. So staff will forego having its presentation this evening, and the applicant is here this evening as well.
Okay, let's hear from the applicant.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and
Good evening.
Commissioners. Yes, exactly as Chris outlined, we are still trying to get better and better alignment with staff, Planning Commission, and the community. So we request to push this up a month so we have time to do that.
Okay. Let me just say this. I don't know whether the commissioners want to chime in on this or not, but I will say this to you, Steve, that I have received a good number of concerns from the community. And I would strongly suggest, as you went down your list, you started with staff, then you said Planning Commission, then you mentioned the community. I would encourage you to start with the community. The community itself has really sent in, we've been inundated with, everybody named Mama got Oz Nesbitt's cell phone number in Rockdale County. And believe you me, they've texted me. They've learned to text. So they've texted me, and I have heard from everybody, in addition to calls and emails. So I do want to encourage you to make sure as you circle back, if I were you, I'd start with the community first.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have reached out before, and we will reach out again. And yes, we've heard from a number of folks. And if you follow social media, people let their opinions be known out there as well.
Yes, sir.
They're not always going to get eye to eye with us, but we do our best.
Commissioner Washington?
So I really, really appreciate you going back to the community. But community, one thing that we learned, well, I just learned today, is that we denied something a few months ago, and on appeal, they threw out our denial. So what that means is it doesn't go away. And once we lose on appeal, unless we keep fighting, we may lose control. So what I'm saying is, please negotiate with an open mind, because we don't want to lose the ability to control what we want in the community. And that's what they're coming to you for, asking what you all want in the community. Because like we just learned, even if we deny something, it doesn't go away. And we might not get what we need in this community with a flat denial. That's all.
Commissioner Williams, any comments?
No, I think Commissioner Washington is right that there has been some litigation on a couple of denials that we made on pieces of property, and then it becomes out of our hands.
Right.
And so it really becomes important that you have those community conversations, that everybody is, working to try to communicate clearly what it is they do want and what they don't want, so that that can be taken into the plan. Because it's not as simple as us just saying no, like Commissioner Washington pointed out. So, good luck.
Let me say one last piece, Steve. You're not new to the whole planning and development process and the world of development. I don't think, commissioners, I totally agree. We're all three of us are saying the same thing to Mr. Gutzel, but I also know that the burden of negotiation and finding common ground doesn't just rest on his shoulders. You can't just talk to your reflection in the mirror, or you can, but if you get an answer, you need to run like hell if you get an answer from that reflection in the mirror. But what I am really saying is, as we're strongly encouraging him to talk and work with the community and talk with an open mind, I think it works both ways. It does work both ways. I think our community have to understand that things have changed, they are changing, we are growing, and we have to come together collectively at the communication table to talk and work it through. So I don't want to let him leave here tonight with the commissioners putting all the pressure on you. We're strongly encouraging you to speak with the community. You should, because they've inundated us, like I said, with their care and concerns. However, when someone is coming to you to work with you, I think it's incumbent upon the community as well to try to find a common ground. We're going to leave it there, and thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thanks, Commissioners.
Deputy Director Wheeler, any other business with this particular matter?
Yes, sir. Since there is a request from the applicant to go back to the Planning Commission, we do have people who sign up to speak in opposition. So we have 8 people who are willing to sign up. So Ms. Tugman will call them up and they'll be able to speak.
And before she does that, I'm going to yield just for a quick second. I am the chairman of the county, but I always respect the people with the talent and the certifications. I want to call up, I see the fire marshal just walked in the door, so y'all make way, let him get through. Mr. Marshall, I want to make sure we're not out of order, or if you're going to hang around just in case we need to evacuate for some reason. Is anything, come on up, sir. Absolutely. There's something you want to tell us? Or
so there's supposed to sign of 85, I believe.
talk to the mic.
There's a occupant load of 85, I believe, in here.
Yes, sir.
One of our major concerns that I see right now is primary means of egress is blocked. I know we have these two, but if they can make some space back here, I don't know if there's an alternate viewing area.
Okay, so here's what we're going to do. Thank you, Mr. Fire Marshal. We're going to comply with you. We're going to get the help of the deputy. Mr. Deputy, go assist the fire marshal. Ladies and gentlemen, if you all will move to the side, make way. We don't have extra flooring tonight, but I heard the fire marshal very clearly. If we would just make way so there's an empty pathway to the door just for emergency, we'll be all right with our meeting.
So,
Hang on one second, Commissioner. Hang on one second. I'll give them a chance to. All right, thank you so much. We'll proceed with our meeting now. Commissioner Washington, you
I
had
just
something.
wanted to know that if, for October 24th, is there a way to re-advertise it so that we can have it
Yes.
next door?
We
Thank
could
you.
do that tonight. If the applicant would be, if you would be okay with it, Steve, if we put this one on for the October 24th, and you would go back to the Planning Commission and then back to the BOC to be heard again, and that way these people could not have to be at the hearing tonight. That's what she's asking, that people are signed up to
and
speak
then
tonight.
But I
and
also wanted to have it re-advertise it so we can
We'll
have it
have
next
to
door.
re-advertise it, yes.
Thank you.
And so for your application, I'll have to go back to the Planning Commission and to the Board of Commissioners, as opposed to the other two that are going back to the, yes. It is, it is. But so all parties can agree that this is going back through the public hearing process, then no, you don't have to speak tonight. Is that what you're asking?
No, I just want us to have more space next month.
Yeah, right. We will.
Okay,
Oh,
thank
we
you.
will. And we'll have a very long agenda next month, too. Hope everyone's making notes of all these items that are on October 24th.
All right, I'm gonna call our meeting back to order. The fire marshal is gonna stay with us. We have a total of 3 deputies, and I think for the safetiness of what we're doing, I think everybody in here wants to be safe. If we had or have to evacuate, I believe that we know how to do that in an orderly fashion. The fire marshal is present. The meeting is in motion. We're gonna stay right here and keep this meeting rocking and rolling. We got a very top-notch fire marshal who's very qualified and capable. We have 3 of the finest Rockdale County deputies on site. And I think we can keep rocking and rolling with our meeting tonight. Come on up, Ms. Tugman, and let's continue to move forward.
Okay.
Okay, so our first speaker is Deborah Guerin.
Chairman Nesbitt,
Yes, ma'am, and you can pull that down to you.
Thank
Ms.
you.
Garrett. Yes, ma'am.
you can come up with me, good. Commissioner Washington and Commissioner Williams, my name is Deborah Gearing, and this is my husband David Nash and our son Wilder. And our family moved into our home in South Rockdale in 2021. This is the first home we've purchased together as a family, and it's my husband's very first home he purchased at the age of 59. He saved his whole life for it. We happen to have the longest shared border with sea property of any residence. It's about approximately 1,000 feet, and it borders on the north side of the Sea Farms property. You'd think with all that Mr. C or Mr. Goodsoul would have reached out to us at some point, but they have not. If Mr. C had reached out to us, we would have told him that despite his public assurances at a community meeting to the contrary, his proposed rezoning and development will not add value to our property. It will negatively impact our property value, to be sure. We have 27 acres of wooded property that runs right into the Sea Farm property. We chose this home in this very rural corner of Rockdale for the peace and quiet and for the abundant wildlife. Because of our son's special needs, we specifically sought a property that is both private and safe. The C property AR zoning was a very important consideration in our purchase, and we wouldn't have moved here if we had known this was coming. We actually looked at all the maps. We figured it out how it works, and we looked at that zoning, and we said, okay, this is going to be safe. Our son spends most days exploring our woods. He especially loves exploring the creek that separates our property from Sea Farms. We're very concerned that this project will cause irreversible damage to the creek that's already suffered some erosion issues, and will mean that over 100 acres of wildlife habitat will be lost. And that affects all of us. But for our family, the biggest concern is safety. Our son is on the autism spectrum. He cannot always discern who might mean him harm. Between the houses that on the current design are crammed right up against our property line, there's a walking trail, there's a proposed commercial shopping center. All of this is in what is our backyard. How are we going to keep him safe? We won't be able to let him play on our own property anymore, as there will be nothing to keep new residents of the Sea Farms development from crossing the creek and coming into our property. With over 240 homes that are proposed right now, there's no way we can get to know those neighbors. With the commercial development possibly having access to a walkway, there's no way for us to know who's going to be coming and walking onto our property. And because it's 27 acres, we can't necessarily see what's going on. But we are out there every single day on this property. It's an essential part of our home. The current AR zoning of Sea Farms is consistent with rural and rustic character of South Rockdale. The community needs to preserve farmland and woodland such as that found on Sea Farms. It is one of the qualities that makes our little corner of Rockdale so special. We understand that Mr. C has the right to control his property within zoning restrictions. Shouldn't be able to change that at the expense of his neighbors and the community at large. We wish he could find a way to preserve his beautiful property, but at the very least, we hope that the county will protect the current homeowners who count on that AR zoning and who, like us, invested here with a reasonable expectation that Sea Farms would remain zoned AR. So please, we beg that you do not allow the change in the zoning that's going to so radically change our lives. Thank you for letting us speak.
Thank you.
Our second speaker is Teresa Gorbett.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm Teresa Corbett. I live at 1617 Claremont Lane in Conyers, Manchester subdivision, right across the street from Sea Farms. Good evening, Commissioners, and thank you for the opportunity to speak in opposition to this proposed development of Sea Farms. We have said this proposed development because we are not against Ben Say selling his property. We are not against Steve Goodsall developing it into a neighborhood as he did with Manchester and Stratford, two adjacent subdivisions. What we do oppose is the plan converting Sea Farms from agricultural residential into a collaborative residential subdivision with approximately 240 homes placed on around 90 acres and a 10-acre commercial development. Looking at the neighborhoods around Sea Farms on Zillow and the county tax website, you see subdivisions like Manchester and Stratford zone R1, where the minimum lot size is currently 2/3 of an acre. This allows for homes to be spread further apart, have yards for kids and families to play in, and be on septic systems and not required a connection to sewage. This proposed Sea Farms development plans to use lots of 85 feet by 150 feet, which is 3/10 of an acre per lot. It does not allow for septic systems at each house. Yes, we live in a Steve Goodsall developed neighborhood and have for 29 years, and we are asking that you vote against a new one across the highway. When Manchester was built in the early 90s, the population of Rockdale County was only 57,000 residents in 84,000 acres. In 2024, we're now at 96,000 residents in the same 84,000 acres, and we are still building as if the county had 57,000 residents. Plus, per the 2020 U.S. Census, there are 35,427 housing units in Rockdale County, which means 2.7 residents per household. There are currently over 6,000 housing units approved for construction, which is an increase of 17%, which will mean a population increase that's just over 16,000, which will put Rockdale County at 112,000 residents. This is in addition to the 1,000 housing units being discussed tonight and voted on next month, which obviously has changed. What I see is there needs to be a pacing. Where are you going to be in 10 years if you keep building like this? The land's going to be gone. There is such thing as pacing yourself out. Additionally, this development includes a commercial development where many of the neighboring strip malls have vacancies. In fact, the closest one became a Q-Smart storage facility due to the lack of business occupying it. Not to mention Smyrna Crossing, where there's a Publix at 212 and 138. There are 4 storefronts that have been empty since that whole parcel was built. That's at least 10, 12 years ago. Still empty, never had a renter. If the owner and developer want to build a subdivision that will add value to the local community, they can do that today. The farm is already zoned AR, which will allow for just 125 homes on 1-acre lots that allow for septic systems and more controlled growth within the Rockdale County. A compromise could be to rezone the farm R1, which would require 2/3 acre lots, and keep the more rural feel of this stretch of 212 that many of our current residents desire, as well as remove the unneeded commercial development. Thank you for listening to me.
Gordy, thank you for coming out tonight.
Next is David Nash.
Okay, he's
Okay.
passing. All right, we'll keep it moving.
Jesus Olivernes.
Right behind you.
That's okay. That's okay. I'm gonna get paid at the end of the month anyway, so it'll make a difference. Thank you for being here. A year ago, I was here. Cowan property. I live at 198 Cowan Road. I'm in between Honey Creek and 212. There is no value to the citizens of Rockdale County. And I'm not going to go into everything, why, et cetera, because you guys know it. You're going to hear it, and you've heard it before. But I can tell you there's no value. You already killed one. I expect that the others also will be killed by you guys and put it on hold to the new administration, okay? As you can see from my hat, I've been around the block a few times. Conflict is no issue to me. I've been in 3 wars, Vietnam and the 2 Gulf Wars.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
I served my country faithfully to put you guys where you're at, okay? As well as all this money that's floating around. If you look at everything, what everybody's going to be saying today, you guys know it. You guys have been inundated. And we have been inundated by these developers for what they want to do. And like I told one of the developers before, there is no value to the citizens of Rockdale County whatsoever. All right? Our taxes, as you know, have gone up completely. And like I wrote, if you think that my property is worth $500,000, I'll ask you to buy it and I'll move to another county where the people appreciate it. Okay? All right? So think, just like she said, think, especially to the developers that are here, that are of no value. Go someplace else. Okay? Completely there. All right? 212 right now in the morning. You guys don't travel it. I travel it once in a while. I'm retired. Okay? But I travel it once in a while. Everybody is going there because 20 is a mess. And 20 will be another mess when they start construction. We'll see how that project comes out to be. Okay? So think very seriously on your decisions. We don't want to be inundated again. This time that we're spending here could have been better time spent with our family and doing things that we appreciate. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Miss Sally Hawkins.
I wholeheartedly agree with what's been said so far. Thank you so much for listening to all of us, and we value your opinion and we value your service. I live in Deer Forest subdivision. We moved in 2000, and we loved it because there was the feeling of community in a rural area. We love the green space, and the traffic increase is not only frustrating and dangerous, it's polluting. And Rockdale County has been able, with your help, to hold those things down, and we appreciate that. I applaud you for that. Thank you. But I don't know if it's appropriate for me to mention this, but here goes. I just think that there's better uses for that land. I know that counties have taken land that's that large and served the community and the families in the community and even the wildlife by leaving it a green space and putting in a park. And that would be my desire, because I think that would, people would come from all over, but it's still a family area. So I thank you very much for letting me speak tonight.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Mr. Kelichek.
Good afternoon, Chairman, Commissioners, citizens of Rockdale County. Thanks for hearing me again today. Regarding this rezoning and development, certainly oppose it. When we look at items, and I'll reiterate this again this evening, is it the developer vision or the citizen's vision? Number 2, is it planning and development or planning and sustainability? The Atlanta Regional Commission just authored a report. In 2023, we had 24 days of 100-degree temperatures here in Rockdale County. Projection by 2053 is 43 days at 100 degrees. That's a 55.8% increase. We can't stand it as individuals. We need oxygen. When deforestation occurs, much of the carbon dioxide stored in the trees is released back into the atmosphere. And as carbon dioxide increases, so does climate change. 25 through 29 Envision Rockdale talks about arts and entertainment in communities. I see no arts and entertainment in this design, which the subdivision design is really, if you look at Levittown, Pennsylvania from 1947, it's the same thing. We're dealing with 70-year-old designs. We need to reimagine Rockdale in many different ways. This is not a gold standard of environmental development, which these citizens deserve. So, based upon those items, I will ask you to deny this request in the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Kelchek.
And finally, Ms. Phyllis Samuels.
Good evening. Thanks for hearing us. You know, as I was walking over here from the parking lot by Whistle Stop, there was a breeze that came through. And all I could think was, thank God this isn't the asphalt jungle. Don't turn this into an asphalt jungle. I moved here from Colorado Springs. I moved to Colorado Springs when it was just a little town that nobody even thought about. You know, you could sleep out. We didn't even have air conditioning. Then we had the influx of population from California. Everybody had to get air. The breezes didn't flow anymore. You had to get central air. I went back to visit. You can't even see a tree. All the houses are backed up. The beauty is gone. You have to go up in the mountains to get the beauty. You have to travel instead of being able to see it from your porch like you used to. That's what we're asking of you. We all moved to this place for the beauty of this place. I thought I was safe because I heard Rockdale was like the second smallest county, so I said, there's not going to be an explosion there. We realized that people need housing. But like all the people that came, you know, I'm last, so I got to take everybody else's ideas. But like they all said, we're just asking, do it slowly, do it purposefully, do it with the people who are already here in mind and why we chose to live in Rockdale. And the other concern is infrastructure. Every time I've gone to the meetings for the builders, we say, well, what about this and what about that? And their reply to us, well, that's not our problem. You got to take that up with the city council, the infrastructure, the highway, they'll come to that later. The traffic, that's later. The policemen, that's later. We are not so sure that it's going to be taken care of later because we're living here now. That's what we're asking. And we know those people have a right to sell their property. We don't want to stop that. We're just asking, slow down. Take in climate. Like the previous speaker said, killing the trees, I won't feel that breeze. It'll be another Colorado Springs that used to be a beautiful place. But now, it's just a lot of houses. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have question of the applicant.
A question of the applicant, Mr. Steve, come on up, please.
I'm not asking for what you have it under contract for, but if we were to do something where we wanted to take this over and create a public park and keep the green space, about what is the fair market value of the property?
I don't have the property under contract. This is a joint venture between me and Mr. C, and I'm not in a position, it's his land, I'm not in a position to give you that number. Is there a number? Always is. Whether or not, excuse me, whether or not we could get together, I don't know. But, you know, Mr. C has a right to use his property, and there are limitations on those rights. The communities.
Well, one of the suggestions was that we did something to develop it as a community, and that comes at a cost. And I was just trying to see, you know, if that was even something that was economically feasible. So, but if you don't have that number,
I don't have a number, in that equation of whether it's possible is a question from your side and my side, and the community side, ultimately, whether they're willing to pay for the property.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
No, so let me explain how it works, because I know we got a lot of folks that's never been out to these meetings before. By law, we have to follow the protocol for the outline meeting, or we'll be subject to the Superior Court ourselves. The commissioners have an opportunity for a line of questioning based upon the outline coming from our staff. I'd be glad to hear from you at the end of the meeting when we can talk, but we have to make sure we continue to follow to respect everybody's time and the order of the applicants and those who are opposed. So I wanted to make sure I said that. So, but I'd love to hear from you if there's something in addition that you'd like to say.
That's everybody who signed up to speak, so we can move on to the next item, sir.
Okay, all right. So that concludes the first item.
Yes, sir.
Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
All right, so bear with me for a second. So, ladies and gentlemen, we've taken care of the business tonight that is as relates to the Sea Farm property out at Oglesby Bridge Road and Highway 212. If you are done and you've heard what you need to hear in terms of that matter is over, you may feel free to leave at this time, and we'll take just a quick break for transition. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right. Right, exactly. Okay, we'll allow for another whole minute for transition, and we're going to move forward with our meeting. Deputy Director Wheeler, I'm going to ask that you've got a good number of your people, your staff out here this evening. In the sake of expediting time, the nice young lady in the back had a question. Can you dispatch one of your people over there to find out what her question is and ask and take her out to the lobby? She'll take you out. She'll meet you out there where you can have a real conversation. And Deputy, before you close, Mr. Fire Marshal, would you Would y'all join me in giving the fire marshal a round of applause? He's done a fantastic job. Absolutely. I just wanted to, let me just say this. This young man, he's representing Rockdale County Fire and Rescue. He's our fire marshal for Rockdale County. He was so nice to come out and stay with us so that we didn't have to disrupt the meeting and shift people next door and cause all kind of, that kind of leadership is rare. And you got a fine young man like Mr. Burton, who is the fire marshal for Rockdale County. Y'all give him another round of applause. That's leadership right there. That's leadership. And as soon as I clear this meeting, Mr. Mayor, I'm gonna call Chief McDaniel and tell her what a fine fire marshal she has and Fire Marshal Burton. Thank you so much, and thank you for working with us. Thank you so much. Have a great evening. Yes, sir. Thank you so much. You have to recognize when you got good folk doing good work for you, because honestly, in the case of the capacity, he has way more authority than I do. He could have forced us to go next door. He could have looked at me straight in the eye and said, Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry, but we're gonna move next door. I couldn't have said nothing else but, yes, sir. But he worked with us. You see how effective communication can be. Let's go on with our meeting. Next item, please.
Our next item on the agenda is case REZ 2024-15. The property address is 2420 Sigmund Road Southeast. The property owner is Chalk Creek Holdings LLC, and the applicant is Mr. John Nix. The applicant is requesting to rezone 53.25 acres of 69.86 acre property from C2 general commercial to MRU mixed residential uses for townhomes and single-family residences. On the location aerial map, the star indicates the proposed site's location. The zoning map shows that the property is currently zoned C2 general commercial and is surrounded by single-family and multi-family residences. To the west of the property are single-family homes. North of the property is undeveloped and is owned by the same developer. Southeast of the property is residential multifamily, which is currently under construction. And to the south of the property are multifamily residences. This is an existing apartment complex. The future land use map indicates that the character area is mixed use employment center, and the request to rezone this property to mixed residential uses is in conformance with the comprehensive plan, which allows 8 to 12 residential units per acre. All our external reviews were received, and the fire department had no comments. The Board of Education provided data showing that the projected enrollment will be lower than current capacity. Transportation Department recommended the applicant coordinate with GDOT on Iris Drive, as well as to provide a traffic study. And Mr. Chairman, we did receive the traffic study after the Planning Commission meeting. Okay. And the study shows that the existing traffic volumes were projected to the year 2027, which is the time frame for the full build out of the development. The capacity analysis were performed for the 2024 existing, 2027 no build, and 2027 build traffic conditions to determine the level of service and delay at the studied intersection and site driveway. The results from the study found that the highest increase in delay per vehicle under the 2027 build condition would be 3.6 seconds at the intersection of Sigmund Road and Iris Drive during the morning peak hour. The study found that the overall net new trips generated by the proposed residential development will have minimal impact to the adjacent roadway network at the time of full build out. And Mr. John Nix can maybe expound on this some more when he gets here. Stormwater noted that there are state waters, wetlands, FEMA floodplains and Rockdale County floodplains and Rockdale County future floodplain requirements that must be adhered to by federal, state, and county ordinances. Water and Sewer stated that there is an existing water main along Sigmund Road, and that wastewater will be serviced from a private easement, which is DeKalb County Sewer Basin. So to summarize this case, the map that is shown is a concept of the proposed development that the applicant wishes to rezone the 53.25 acres for townhomes and single-family residences. The development will have 304 residential units with a breakdown of 257 proposed townhomes, 47 proposed single-family homes. The proposed density is 5.7 units per acre, where the MRU code allows up to 8 units per acre, which in essence is less density. So the applicant is proposing a 5-foot wide concrete sidewalk on one side of the internal street. However, code requires that sidewalks are installed on both sides of the proposed internal street. The applicant is also proposing amenity including community green space, splash pad, dog park, 6-foot wide enhanced walking paths, and 10-foot wide paved multi-use path along Iris Drive. I would also like to quickly mention that even though the development shows only one proposed entrance, the applicant informed staff that they are currently working to have an agreement with a multifamily development southeast of the property for another access. So should this rezoning go through and is approved, the applicant, and if the applicant fails to get that agreement, then the fire department and transportation will either approve or deny any future plans. And Mr. John Nix can also go into the details of the agreement that they're working on. So based on all the information and documents gathered, staff recommended approval with 15 conditions. The Planning Commission, however, voted to recommend denial because of traffic and the number of proposed units, as well as all the other developments around this property.
Specifically, they were concerned about the one-way access. Sorry. They were concerned about the one-way access onto the site. So.
Okay, all right, thank you.
So, Mr. Chairman, if we have the 15 recommendations, I'm not sure if you want us to read it in record or not.
Let's hold tight on that just for a second. So your next point of business with this is to have the applicant
The applicants.
speak. Let's hear from the applicant.
Okay. Mr. Nix?
Good evening, John Nix, 945 Bank Street, Conyers, Georgia, and Mark Walton, 928 Black Lawn Road, Conyers, Georgia. We're here this evening to discuss 53 acres of an existing 69-acre parcel. We like this depiction because it shows a greater distinction between the property that will remain C2. The entire tract is currently zoned C2. It's been zoned C2 for over 35 years. It's been actively marketed by the owner for the last 10 years. And despite a few contracts on the property, they never came to fruition. When you look at the property, you see at the top of our slide, the pink area, that's the 14 acres that's not part of the zoning application. And it's divided from the rest of the property by a creek. So that's a natural delineation. The property is under contract with Carter USA, and they are going to retain the 14 acres and develop it as C2, and the rest of the property would go to the applicant. The MRU district provides 3 key principles as far as why you have an MRU district. One of them is to allow for the development of residential that is on human scale as opposed to a skyscraper or a high-rise. And it includes single family, it includes townhouses, it includes duplexes, it includes apartments. And the future land use map calls for and allows for this type of development on site. The proposed use, looking at single-family residential and the townhouses, would be a significant downturn in, or a down run toward the current zoning. This is the first time, I promise you, that you've had a zoning before you seeking this type of residential use that currently is zoned C2. The entire tract is zoned C2. I'd like for Mark to take us through the plat, and then what we're going to do is reserve whatever time we have left when he concludes for our rebuttal. Thank you.
Chairman, Commissioners, Mark Walton, thank you all for your time. If you look at the concept plan that we have up there, Mr. Nix explained about the property and the commercial to the north of the property. To the west of the property, to the left-hand side, it backs up to Cedar Lane, which is a residential development that's been there for a long time. The MRU zoning against regular residential does not require a transitional buffer according to the code. The developer has gone ahead and said, well, let's put a 50-foot wide transitional buffer there. So we have offered that up. Also, all of our single-family residential, it backs up to the existing single-family residential. So we're transitioning from very low density to a little higher density. Then once you cross the street, we have two types of townhomes. We have front entry and rear entry townhomes. Within pretty much the center of the property, that's where we have basically the community center. We have basically a traffic island that's almost 100 feet across, and within that it will have a splash pad, a little community building, and then all interspersed throughout the development we have different amenity features, walking trails throughout. Many of the units are accessed as a rear entry, and actually, if my clicker works, well, sort of, with a little bit of help there. Thank you, Carolina. That's a typical front entry, or that's a typical single-family house that would be on the outer loop. Next one, please. That's another of the single-family residentials. According to the stipulations, the conditions, we may have to add a little more brick, and that would not be a problem. Next one, please. Another one that would probably need some more brick. That little shrunk down, that is our rear entry units. This particular depiction shows a road in front of it. We will not have that. We'll have that walkway. These units will be facing one another, so it'll just have a nice walking trail between the units, and their parking will be on the back side. And then the next one, that is some of the front entry townhomes. Again, we will have to have more brick on the front, but that's sort of the architectural look. And then finally, it goes back to our concept plan that shows the various types of units. I would like to throw in there that this property will access onto Iris Drive, which is a minor arterial. Within a quarter of a mile, you can be on I-20, headed basically to Atlanta or out to Covington. As I demonstrated, we have a logical transition and progression from the C2 at the corner, going to less intense zoning. Offered up the 50-foot transitional buffer. The MRU allows for 8 units to the acre. We're at 5.7 units to the acre, which is about 29% less than allowed. And the MRU also allows for the single-family residential lots to be 40 feet wide. The developer wants to build a little bit beefier house. These are 60-foot wide lots, which is 50% more than what the code would allow. And I guess we will reserve our time.
So, Mr. Walton, I have a question that I'll yield to the commissioners. I think Ms. Tugman made mention or made reference to possibly a Sigmund Road entrance. Can you speak to that? I know I'm familiar with what you said about the Iris Drive part of it. Will there be a Sigmund Road type either walkable or drivable entrance of some type?
We will have a 10-foot walk path along the edge of the Irish Drive right-of-way. That will be a multi-use trail. And as far as access, right now we're showing 2 entrances. It was stated that we only have one.
Okay.
We have the first entrance that comes out onto Iris, and then we have a secondary access that could tie into the just lightly shown townhomes there. It's a little gray street that ties in, that butts into those, and that has 2 driveways out onto.
Is that on the Sigmund Road side?
No, that's all on the Iris.
All on the Iris. So there would not be a Sigmund Road entrance or exit?
There might be an opportunity, but I'll let Mr. Nix, he's talked to the Carter people.
We've discussed the multipurpose trail going on up through their property and even turning possibly into their property to give more access to the commercial. We've also discussed with them the possibility of going across the creek, but I would say that they are more focused on the trail and possibly turning the trail into the commercial rather than going across the creek. But it has not been foreclosed as a possibility. Carter is looking to see how this goes as far as getting more intense with their discussions with Cotter as far as how that would work.
Okay. All right, commissioners, any questions?
I don't have any questions, but I do have a few comments. And as you all know, we're looking to do something significant across the street. And right now, I'm underwhelmed. I've seen Carter's developments. I've seen what they can do, and I don't believe that they're giving us the best that they can. And I would, at this point, hold out for better quality. The townhomes, I've seen some of their townhomes. I've seen some of the developments. Even the single-family housing is not what I would want for the focal point. This is going to be the entrance to this county, and it's going to define who we are. And I don't think at this point that I want to settle for what I think is mediocrity when I know the developer can do so much better, and I've seen so much better from them. So I would ask that we look at this some more and get what I would think would be better quality for the future of Rockdale County.
So, Commissioner Williams?
So, I have met with Mr. Nix a couple of times and shared with him, of course, that the county owns the property across the street, across Sigmund Road there. And like Commissioner Washington said, we're hoping to make that look like a really nice entrance into the county. There are some good features in this plan, in the fact that the front doors don't open up onto a street, they open up to a walkway. The streets are behind the houses. They open up to the trail part, and there's quite a bit of green space allowed. And I think, there's the commercial aspect down the road. I would like to see something a little different in terms of the renderings that were shown to us tonight. And we can be, we can look at those at some other point in the next couple weeks.
And when you speak of renderings, Commissioner, you're talking about the architectural renderings?
Yes, the architectural renderings. I think we want to make it look unique, and while it doesn't have to cost a lot, but we can make things look high-end by the way it's designed. You know, I'm really excited about developing this piece of property. But I think we do need to do just a little bit more work on the.
So, Mr. Nixon, Mr. Walton, I think what I'm hearing from the board this evening is, and I think the focus has been or is on the actual architectural renderings of the facade of the units that have been presented. One of the things that all of us know that material and construction has a price point, with also the price point of selling and renting and buying those units and all of the whole production. So we do know that that is taken into consideration. I heard Commissioner Williams put emphasis on basically the presentation, the aesthetics, and how it looks. Commissioner Washington talked about that, and it's a gateway entry into Rockdale County, and whatever the plans are with the new board in 2025 and beyond, I think that it needs to speak to the vision of where we're trying to go in the county. So I'll close by saying that I too am excited about development. Finally, after a number of years on this particular intersection in this corner and gateway into Rockdale County, I do hear the commissioners loud and clear in terms of whatever the developer, the construction team can do, that makes sense. It has to make sense from a price point to either redesign and make sure there's a quality product, and not just the look of a quality product, but a true quality product that fits into the price point, because we all understand as business people, it has to make sense. They're not just building to be building. Somebody's trying to make some money somewhere. So it does have to make sense if you're going to go out there and make that type of investment. But at the same time, we want it to reflect the future direction of where the county is going. And so I think that's what I'm hearing from both of the commissioners. Certainly not hearing anything other than the excitement about the development there, but making sure that it does reflect and give the presentation that Rockdale County is looking for. So hopefully in 2 weeks' time that a robust conversation can be had to find a way to reconfigure, redesign, and create a different facade that makes it a little bit more appealing. And I would also, because I know the clock is ticking, but I would also encourage you, if you can, to reach out to both of the commissioners with whatever redesign you get before you come to a public setting, and allow them to take a look at that and make sure it is where they were thinking in terms of this new look, if that makes sense.
So just to be clear, because I know you and I have talked about it, some new ideas have come into fruition as I've worked with the two new commissioners coming in. The Commissioner-elect who's here tonight and our chairman-elect. And so I'm thinking about some of their ideas which were actually a little more progressive than my ideas. And so I'd love to sit and talk with you about them.
So I understand, and I appreciate y'all's comments. I understand there's people here to talk on the other side
Yes.
of this equation. So we'll hold the rest of our time.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir. We have 4 people who signed up in opposition. The first speaker is Ms. Christine Mizzi, or Mizey.
Ms. Miles, come on up, Ms. Miles.
Good evening.
Good evening, ma'am.
Thank you for
pull that mic to your mouth. That way they can hear you, Ms. Miles. Thank you so much.
Thank you for allowing me to speak to you tonight. I'm not used to this, so I'm a little nervous, but I just wanted to let you know I live on Cedar Lane, 378 Cedar Lane. I've been there for 52 years.
Yes, ma'am.
My property backs up to all this new residential stuff that they're talking about doing, and I know this property's been there for a long time, and I know the Sigmunds have tried to sell it several times and it didn't go through. But if you've ever walked over this property, it's pristine. It is beautiful. The creek that they keep talking about on the picture goes between my house and my next door neighbor's house. It runs in between our properties. And I don't know if they've walked it. They probably have. It's so gorgeous up there. There are rocks up there the size of tractor trailer trucks. I don't know what they're planning on doing with all that beautiful area up there. And the wildlife up there, we have deer, wild turkeys, owls, and we have very rare owls up there. We have the barred owl, and there's some other kind of wildlife up there that you just don't see as much of. My children had the opportunity to grow up playing in those woods, and Mr. Sigmund always allowed them up there to do all of that. I just think with so little green space left in this county to keep destroying the trees and the property, I know earlier they were talking about the amount of space we have. There's only Rockdale County's only got 83,600 acres all total. Of that, there's only 21,193 acres left. That's 27%. That's a fourth of this county left with trees on it. And he keeps talking about the walking paths. It'll be asphalt or concrete walking path. There will be no trees because they will destroy all of those. I also want to speak to the water runoff because we already, that property slants towards our property to a degree, and the water runoff is already pretty severe. And with asphalt and concrete all up above us, we're going to get pretty a lot of water washing down across our yards and destroying our properties. It's going to also devalue our properties to have that type of buildings, and I know y'all would prefer a different type of setup for them to do. But any kind of setup in it would be just detrimental to our property value. And I know that they were talking about quick access to get to Atlanta. It's also quick access for all the criminals because the crime has increased in this county, and a lot of them get on and off right there so they can hightail it back to Atlanta when they've done something wrong. The schools, I know that it says they won't overcrowd them, but you're talking about putting 300 units in that area, and that could be a lot of children into our school system, and we want quality education in this county, and I know y'all do too. Another thing is the traffic, and I know they talked about they only have one entrance to it, and the other is negotiating with another townhouse apartments that is already being built there to come through their property to access Iris Drive. If you've ever come through there in the morning at traffic, I know that said something about a 3-point-something second. You try it. You're talking at least 7 or 8 minutes to get through that intersection if you're coming off of Iris Drive. The road repair in this county, as y'all know, is horrible. It's like pothole city around this county, and I just wonder how many more cars can go on these roads. I don't know if you've been down Dogwood Drive going to BJ's lately, but that's like playing Dodge City down there, and it's been like that for years, and there's not been any improvement in that traffic there. It's horrible. They throw a little bit of asphalt in a hole every once in a while and make a big bump there. But that's all there is to it. It's just awful. And I just respectfully request that you would deny this, and I wouldn't mind it being turned into some kind of park or really nice area up there. But as far as having all that housing up there and losing all that green space and the trees and the oxygen from the trees, we oppose that wholeheartedly. And I just pray that y'all have the courage and the wherewithal and the fortitude to deny this and look for a better opportunity for this property. Thank you.
Ms. Mons.
Next speaker is Yvonne Smith.
Thank you, Ms. Smith. Give Ms. Smith a round of applause.
Ms. Kelly.
Miss Kelly, we ain't gonna be here all night.
Y'all must have heard about the last meeting. How are y'all doing tonight? My name is Kelly, and my property backs up to that property.
Yes,
I'm center pointed where they're wanting to build all of the homes. and they're giving me 50 feet, give us 50 feet of variance. There's like, my neighbors have said we all live on the same street, we next door neighbors. We all value that property. I moved there 16 months ago because of the neighborhood being so quiet, because there was so much wildlife behind me. I grew up on 65 acres, and my dad told me years ago, you'll come back to your roots. And I did. I came back to where I could enjoy the wildlife and sit in my backyard, enjoy all the wild turkeys and the deer. But my main concern is they're already building the condos on Iris Drive, which has got to be at least 300 units. You put 2 cars per unit, and that's 600 more cars on Iris Drive turning at that red light. They're wanting to put over 300 on the property they're wanting to take now behind us, 300 and something units. Put 2 cars to every unit of that house, that's 600 more cars. One entrance, they're saying the second entrance, that's cut through the power lines to go to the apartment complex or the condo complex. Why are they going to want that traffic coming through their complex to get in and out? So which basically is going to end up being one entrance off Iris Drive with 600 more cars in that subdivision and 600 more cars in the condo subdivision at that red light. That's a lot of cars turning in and out of Iris Drive. Getting off that exit, I work in Midtown every day. I come back out of the city at 7 o'clock, there's still traffic getting off that exit. And you're saying, during rush hour, morning and night, and then the school bus is stopping to pick up all those kids and stuff like that, traffic is going to be backed up all the way down Iris Drive. And that's what we don't want. We don't want the traffic. We don't want the craziness happening, the crime. The crime rate's going to go up. Our property value is going to go down. And like Miss was saying about I already had to put in $10,000 worth of drainage in my backyard because the water running down to my house. And if they go in and take the rest of that property and put all that concrete there, what else is going to happen to our properties when it comes to the flooding part? And I ask that y'all take in consideration just the traffic alone. That red light cannot take that much traffic anymore. So that's about all I've got to say. And we take care of each other. These are old people. I take care of them. I look after them. We love each other. So, and we moved to that neighborhood. They moved there years ago, and I moved there for a reason.
Ms. Kelly, thank you for coming out and sharing. A little different. I'm going to ask you something. Ms. Mize, she just, in her presentation, she made a suggestion that what she thought we should do.
Right.
What do you think should happen with that property?
I knew when I bought that house, something eventually was going to go there. That's just a given.
Right. I want to hear what you think. What do you think we should do? I
would like with some green space, a park maybe, like you were saying. You're wanting something.
Well, I didn't say that, Ms. Mize. Ms. Mize.
We're wanting as low traffic as we can get at that corner. Is basically.
Okay. I just wanted to hear what your thoughts were.
Be honest with you, something to use the green space.
Thank you, Ms. Kelly. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you so much.
Last speaker is Mr. George Kelichek.
Chairman, Commissioners, citizens of Rockdale County. This is not only an entrance into Rockdale County, it's an entrance coming into the city of Conyers. It's an entrance to our school system. I sat through 6.5 hours with the Planning and Zoning Commission last week. Planning Commission said this looks like railroad tracks, and it does. It's a 1960 design. Our biggest population is 55 plus. Who wants to go up and down stairs? You got to start planning for your largest growth in Rockdale County, and that's 55 plus. This isn't getting it. 80% of our citizens leave this county every day for their jobs. If you look what is going on right now, you've got 460 Honey Creek Road, Potts, Say Farms, 138 Ebenezer, Honey Creek Golf and Country Club development. And then you've got this. You're looking at 7,588 additional trips getting in and out of this county every day. The roads can't take it. That red light right there. I challenge you to go up, get up at 5:30 in the morning and go out there like I do to get on I-20. Get out there at 5:30 in the afternoon. You'll see exactly what's going on. I don't know that anybody wants to walk out there, not with all that traffic going on. So I am in complete opposition to this. And again, it's a 1960 design. We need a gold standard in this county, not 1960. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. The applicant has have time left for rebuttal.
Okay, all right, come on up.
Let me begin by saying that I recognize y'all's concerns about the architecture and that look. I also want to lead in by saying I respect what the folks came up and said. I understand that, believe it or not. I've been on the other side of this before. But the land is currently zoned C2. And C2, if you just run through a couple of things that can be done on C2, in addition to general retail, you've got liquor stores, gasoline stations, convenience stores, pawn shops, tobacco stores, self-storage secured, transit and ground passenger terminals, general medical and surgical centers, amusement parks, amusement arcades, pool halls, drinking places of alcoholic beverages, motels and hotels. That is what can be done as a matter of right on this property. Now, the fact that it hasn't been developed that way up until now might just be, it's waiting, right? No, who can predict the future? But right now it can be those uses. So the owner could sit and wait for those uses to come, and it'll develop piecemeal probably, unless some one big player comes in, and then it'll develop all as C2. It'll develop C2 as the zoning dictates it and the requirements of how you build dictate it when it comes. So unless the county does a lot to change its code in that regard, it's going to look like 138. The setbacks for C2 are probably 75 feet from residential. We're putting in our plan, not offering, we put it in our plan to have 50-foot divide of residential. I am a big person about doing the correct kind of development. I'm a big person about wanting to do the right thing, but sometimes you've got to look at the right thing from two sides of the fence. One's the owner's right, and one's the public's right. And if you look at your zoning code, which I know you have, and you look at the minimum state standards, which you have to analyze a zoning proposition in, this proposition for you to consider through the analysis, which the staff did a really good job in, and they really do a good job when they say something that's against me too, but on this particular one, we kind of saw eye to eye, because it's an easier proposition than anything that you've seen lately, because it's C2, because it's on I-20, because it's got Sigmund Road and commercial to the top of the photograph there, because it's got apartments to the bottom of the paragraph there, and you've got single residential against it one way, and they're trying to accommodate it, not only with the buffer, but putting single residential there. Vision it another way, where we just throw a water balloon at it, and there's 14 different commercial developments on it, and they're all hooked up by one road. You say you can't walk, Mr. Kalichek. I want to call him out because I respect him a lot, and he does a lot of good things, but not having the ability to walk on a multi-purpose path that's got landscape around it and it's 15 to 20 feet away from Ios Drive is a far better attempt than having nothing. It's a far better attempt than the standard GDOT sidewalk that is 3 feet off of curb. So, and no one's brought a project in here that's got the green space going down the front doors of those houses. And that's something, by the way, Cotter took a couple hits here tonight, but they've got someone that's joined their company the last couple of years that worked in Virginia, and it was commonplace to do it this way. So I know we have to do a little bit more homework. I know that there is, I would probably be standing on the other side of this podium if I lived where they live and saying, why are you taking this away from me? But what they're not giving anything for the preservation of it. And they can't, because their neighbors and the property owner has not a right, but a rational ability to come before the governing body and ask for rezoning that's rational under the conditions. This development is far more rational than anything that got deferred tonight. It's far more rational than anything that will get presented tonight because of location, 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 and because Cotter is actually trying to do something different. Someone said at the Planning Commission meeting, it looks like I'm going to a drive-in theater. Well, okay, but it's a drive-in theater that's got lots and lots of green space that they don't have to have. They could have more density. It's got this unique approach about the front door. Imagine that with trees in it, tree lined, like old districts in Atlanta where you see a park in the middle, a narrow park. I know I'm running out of time, but this is not something that, something is coming to the site, and what do you want it to look like? And I would say that if I was living next door to it, just me, I'd rather it be something residential than all the things that it could be under commercial C2, if it ever develops that way. Would be my preferred way to go. We will get back to you with new and improved approaches regarding our architecture, and we'll see where we go with this.
How many total units again?
304?
So, Mr. Nix, Mr. Walton, one of the things that, first of all, I think a lot has come out tonight, particularly with this particular item. I want to take, Commissioner, just a quick second to say that I'm actually glad that Commissioner-elect Smith is present tonight. And I'm also wondering, Mr. Nix, did you have the opportunity during the Planning Commission presentation to make that case and teach and explain what you just did about, first of all, how it's already currently zoned, and then the number of other uses that could apply according to our current ordinance? Did you have that opportunity?
On that particular evening, I could have had a big group of people making arguments for me, and it would have ended the same way. It just wasn't a good night.
Okay. So the reason I asked and the reason I stated that I'm glad that the commissioner-elect is here, the clock is ticking, the time is rolling out, and this year is coming to an end, and the new board will be coming in, and we're celebrating their entrance. But one of the things I think is important for all of Rockdale County is that people are educated. And let me just say respectfully, we appreciate the service of our Planning Commission, but they too need to be educated and informed on how things actually work. There are multiple landowners in Rockdale County who are either at an age, stage, phase in their lives where they're ready to sell their properties. And they have, so there has to be some kind of balance. It's easy for the community to say, let's preserve the trees and keep the green space. I know how important that is. I like that too. I appreciate that as well. But what do you say to a property owner when he or she gets a knock on their door and they're of a certain age, phase, and stage in their life, and they're saying, listen, we really want to get that big check that's knocking at that door, and we really don't need all of this anymore. We need to do something with it. Well, let me also throw this other piece of education in there. Whether it's this board, the next board, or the board after that one, guess what Rockdale County is not in the business of? Real estate. We can't buy, the county can't buy all the empty parcels inside inside of Rockdale County. That's not what we're in the business to do. And I heard the quote of the amount of green space we have left, and you're actually absolutely correct. There's not a lot of green space left. So oftentimes people say to me, and I'm sure they probably said to the other commissioners about, why aren't we getting certain things in Rockdale County? Well, we're not going to get it. Because number one, we have rock. Always keep that in mind. We're not called Rockdale County for nothing. She just mentioned about the rock as big as you know what. So there's a lot of factors. I'm taking this moment, and I'm hoping that people, the scales have to be balanced. Whether this board or the next board, we do want to progressively move our county forward. We do want to respect the pioneers, the folks who've been here, who've grown up here. We do want to respect the amount of traffic, the number of young people enrolled in our school system. All of those things, the infrastructure, those things are important. And I think that as long as we have the talent base of in-house experts who can guide us and lead us in the right direction, whether this board or the next board, we can make the right decisions on behalf of all of Rockdale County. Just keep in mind, everyone, that there has to be some level of give and take. I heard from the commissioners tonight, and they placed their emphasis on this project based upon the design, the renderings, the aesthetics, the look. We've all been on this board, and we've struggled with finding the right fit for that particular gateway entrance into this county at Iris and Sigmund. And as you stated, Mr. Nix, either is this particular project or one of those list of items that you listed. And here's the other thing that I didn't mention. The ordinance calls for what it calls for today. Mm-hmm. If someone decides to purchase the property with the understanding that they can do what the ordinance calls for, and the board doesn't grant that, guess what's going to happen? We're going to be sued.
Well,
So there's a lot of people, watch this, I'm gonna take it to a different level here. There's a lot of people popping off information all over the county and saying the wrong thing, and they don't know what they're saying. They need to speak to the ordinance. They need to be educated and informed about what the ordinance actually says. There has to be a common ground. There has to be a common ground. You don't have to agree with me, but what is right, and what is fair is fair. So we have to find a common ground. Nothing is going to stay the same. Zero is going to stay the same. Somebody's going to come in here, and the change is going to happen. So how it happens, how we manage how it happens, whether we're talking about an acre or 1,000 acres, we've got to really put some real thought to it. I'm going to stop there. I think there's an opportunity over the next couple of weeks for you all to do some due diligence and a little bit of homework, circle back to the commissioners. I think it's an opportunity, and I hope that every citizen who put his or her time to come out tonight, because I respectfully hear all of you. I do hear you. I hear you loud and clear. But I'm asking that you open your mind. Do you want the liquor store? Do you want the funeral home? Do you want the other place there? Do you want all of that? So Ms. Kelly, I'm not going to entertain any questions. This is my time, so I'm talking now, and I've already granted you, according to the law, your time to talk. So I'll see you at the store. But enough there. Mr. Wheeler, anything else?
No, sir, not for this item.
Okay.
I'd just like to make one emphasis.
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead, Commissioner.
And I think Mr. Nix gave us a really clear idea of what could be built on that. If we deny it and do nothing, that's what you will get. And I don't think that's what you want either. And so because you just picture 138, and it's a hodgepodge of gas stations, fast food places, automotive repairs, all of that. This is the entrance into our county. And I like the basic design of what's there. Much, much better than if we do nothing. And I think we can tweak it and get something that we all will really like.
But with that, I would like to see if there's any way that we could increase some buffers and maybe do something where we are replanting some of the trees or something like that, so that there is a more natural, taking those things into consideration. That might be part of the thing that makes it Rockdale, to have an emphasis on the nature. So maybe there's something that we can do with some of those boulders. Maybe we can do something, just thinking outside the box to. So one of the things that I struggle with is because I never want to make Rockdale anything else. So what is it that we can do for this entryway that retains the character of Rockdale County and the rural feel, the retro feel, the sense of homeliness coming into this county, so that people understand that these people are here and they've stayed here and they were at the ungodly long planning commission meeting because they care about those things in this community. So how can we take the things that they're saying and make it turn the new into something that is respected by the people that are already here? So those are the things that are going through my mind. So maybe we can talk about some of those aesthetics, and maybe you all can be in on the solution to the problem. The solution, we want you all here to give us solutions, because like I said earlier today, we can't, even if we deny, that doesn't mean that it goes away. The better part is, let's come together, let's figure out what makes Rockdale Rockdale. Let's move this county forward in a way that preserves the history of what was there and moves this county forward with input and preservation and respect for our past, but understanding that we have to move forward, because like the chairman said, this isn't our land. And I do know how much that property is worth, and we can't keep, like the chairman said, we can't buy, or maybe Commissioner Williams, we can't buy all of the parcels of land, but maybe we can come up with some design standards.
Ms. Kelly, see,
I'm sorry.
Yeah, don't invite.
It's 8 o'clock, it's past my bedtime, y'all.
Ms. Kelly. All right, next item, please. Planning staff, let's keep it rocking and rolling.
Okay, so the next case on the agenda is SUP 2024-05, and we'll give them a minute to get out.
Okay, let's move forward.
Okay. So SUP 2024-05, the property address is 2412 Southeast Ebenezer Road. The applicant is Dr. Nadra Powell of High Achievers Education Center, Inc. The applicant is requesting a special use permit for a private school PK to 5 in a place of worship at Ebenezer United Methodist Church. The subject property is surrounded by residentially zoned properties, and the adjacent zoning and land use to the east, west, and north are all single-family residences, and to the south is a public school. The request for a special use permit to operate a private school is in conformance with the current AR zoning district and medium density future land use designation. The star on this map right here indicates where the educational building is
Ms.
on
Tugman,
the property.
I just want to ask you a question. Do we have any opposition to this?
No, we don't.
Okay, all right. Rock and roll.
Okay. So we have received all the reviews from external.
We have one opposition? You do or you don't? Okay, there isn't. Let's rock and roll.
We don't.
Okay.
Fire had no comments.
Okay.
Transportation Department, however, they did suggest getting a deceleration lane and to do a traffic study. However, the applicant expressed that the facility has adequate parking and that parents will be required to sign students in and out of school. Therefore, they will park their cars in the parking lot and not create a car line. The Rockdale Board of Education indicated that there will be no impact on the Rockdale County Public Schools. Stormwater Department, based on the submitted rezoning documents, there are no environmental impacts. And to just summarize the application, the applicant is requesting the special use permit for a private school. The school, just a little history on it, is that the school was on Bank Street initially and had to move because of a flood in 2022 to Conyers First United Methodist Church, but has now outgrown that space and is looking for a bigger facility, as they are one of the only schools in the area accepting level 1 and level 2 autistic students. There are 4 entrances to this location, one on Staten Road, the other on Paradise Circle, and 2 on Ebenezer Road. The applicant has stated that the school capacity will not exceed 94 students, and drop-off will be 7:15 to 8 a.m. Pickup will be 2:30 to 3 p.m., similarly to the adjacent Edward Middle School. And the existing parking will be utilized for drop-off and pickup. So based on the information that we've received from the applicant, staff had recommended approval with 2 conditions, and the Planning Commission also recommended approval. So the applicant is here, Mr. Chairman, just in case you have any questions or
We
for
don't
her to
have any
present.
questions. We're familiar with this one very well. I'm going to yield to the commissioners. If they don't have any questions, we'll keep it rocking and rolling.
No, we were ready to, I was
Okay.
ready to pass this before.
Commissioner Williams, any questions or comments?
I'm good.
Okay, all right, next, let's rock and roll, sir.
Unless the applicant wants to speak, other than that, that's the end of the agenda.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your time and interest tonight in all of the events and items on our agenda for the public hearing. This meeting is adjourned. Great job to the planning.